Hello everybody and welcome to the Keith Barker channel, where it's my goal and our goal to help give you the tools and tips you need to help get your CCNA. So one thing I want to share with you is that if somebody orders gear, like physical gear, like here, for their home lab, which is not required. I mean, you can just do packet tracer, which is great for practicing. But for those people who want to build home labs, when you get that, I remember back in 1998, I got my first gear and it got delivered and I opened it out of the box. I was like, oh, what do I do? And I, figured out you'd use a console cable to connect to the console port, line console 0, and that's where you start to configure that device. Well, that's not the only time you're going to need access to a console port. And what I'd like to do is share with you a solution in this video of how you can have a wireless access to your console ports, even if they're in the other room. So you and I are over here at this computer, and maybe we have a rack of gear that is in the other room or 2 rooms away, and something goes wrong. Maybe we misconfigured something, or maybe we shut down an interface. It's like, oh no, I need to fix that. So what we could do is go to the console port, which is right here. And so this console port on these devices, the challenge is like, oh, you and I are over here and they are over there in a room or 2 away. How do we get access to those console ports? So one option is using what was called a terminal server back in the day. And it basically is a device that sits here. We used to use 2911s, and now we have better ways of doing it. But this device, we would connect to it, and then it would have these serial cables that would then go to each of the console ports. So that no matter what we did, short of powering off the device permanently, but however we messed up the configuration, we could always get to the console port from our device. Well, I thought to myself, I had so many times that I have had gear that was physically away from me in this house where I want to go and get to the console port. So I have to okay, what device should I use? Do I have a terminal emulator on that laptop? Do I have the right cable involved? And so forth. So it's a real pain. So what we can do is this. We have the ability to take a Raspberry Pi, this little guy right here, and with this Raspberry Pi, with a little adapter that goes from a USB port to a 4 serial connector, we can take that, and this can be our terminal server. And what I'm going to do is show you the exact steps that you can do if you want to set this up for a very inexpensive terminal server and getting access, remote access, over to network gear and have your own little wireless terminal server. So what I'd like to do is walk you through what I use to implement this, get it all working, and then actually give you a demonstration of it working. And I'll put all the steps in the description. So if you want to do it, you can replicate it step by step and have your own wireless terminal server to get access to your console ports, even if it's in another part of the building, as long as you have Wi-Fi access to this device. So let me share with you the steps of everything that was involved in making this happen. So I'm right now remotely connected to the Raspberry Pi that is acting as the terminal server. And I made this document. Let's do an ls. And it is called termserver.inst. Let's do a less, term server.inst. So less is a fun little play, less is more. Lets you scroll up and down in a document. Pretty fun stuff. And here we go. I use the Raspberry Pi operating system, and I used to use the 32-bit flavor, and it was just the one that was current. And I use this imager software, the Raspberry Pi Imager version 1.3. And the imager looks like this, and I used it just to image the little flash drive that you put in as the hard disk for the Raspberry Pi. So I chose this OS right here, and I chose the SD card that I stuck in my little USB reader, and I said write, and it was done. So then I plugged it in, and it installed, and I answered a few questions, changed the password, and boom, I've got this Raspberry Pi up and running. And I tried this with a couple flavors of Raspberry Pis, a 2B and also a 3B Plus. And the 2B, it did not have a built-in Wi-Fi adapter, so I just had a little USB dongle from 5 years ago that I just plugged in, and it saw it, recognized it, and I configured it so it had an IP address. Now, as far as the cables go, I have a really old USB to 9-pin adapter. I've had it for maybe 6 or 7 years. It still worked. I also tested out the more current USB to console cable, the one you buy currently that goes from your USB port directly to the console port. And I also use this one right here as well, the Gearmo 4-port. I bought it on Amazon. I'll have a link in the description. It wasn't that expensive, and that's what basically gives me the 4 ports that I want to use. But if you have other older USB to console adapters lying around, or serial adapters, you can use those as well. And then as far as software, I did these things. And I'll put these descriptions in the link below. I just did a sudo apt-get update, upgrade-y, and then I installed telnet, telnet-d, and SecureCRT. And that's the magic that allows our connection from our Raspberry Pi over to the console port. So we connect, this is us, right here at our PC. We connect over the wireless network over to the Raspberry Pi, and then it's going to connect us logically through its 4 serial ports to the console ports of device 1, device 2, device 3, and device 4. If we do an LS USB, it's going to show you all the USB devices. And if you want to see the TTY information, we can do a DMESG, which is a driver message, then a pipe symbol, and say a grep. Now, grep is just saying, I want to search for, out of all that output, anything that includes TTY. We'll press enter, and that's just verifying our TTY lines. So that 4-port serial adapter is going to be represented as TTY USB 0, 1, 2, and 3 for those 4 ports. Also, the same technique works if you have an older USB adapter going to that console port. If you want to find out what number it is, you can just use this command and it'll show you. So once we know what those ports are, USB 0, 1, 2, and 3, and so forth, we can then go ahead and edit our configuration file for the SecureCRT, the serial to network application that we installed. So the way to edit that is using sudo nano. Nano is just a text editor. And then we're going to put the full path /etc/ser2net.conf. And we're just going to edit the bottom. Now they're going to have some samples there. And although you don't have to be a master at each part of this, here's basically what it's saying. It's saying that for these ports, 2001, we want to use telnet. That's a timeout value. And we're going to direct it to this device, which would be, like the first serial port that's hanging off that 4-port dongle. Then we have our speed. 9600 is the bits per second. So it's going to be 8 data bits, like 1 byte of data. None refers to, I believe, parity. Up in the description of that file, it has all the details. And then 1 stop bit and the word banner. So I just edited this part right here, /dev/TTY USB 0 to represent USB 0, then USB 1, and USB 2, and USB 3. And then I just used unique port numbers. So the cool thing is that you and I, as we sit here, and we telnet over to the Raspberry Pi, let's imagine it's 192.168.1.90, if that's the IP address it has. We'd telnet to that IP address, but instead, this is the key, instead of using telnet on TCP port 23, we would specify 2001. Check that out right there. And what that does, that whisks us away through time and space to that serial port off of USB 0. So if that's attached to router 1, boom, we're on the router console port for router 1. Pretty amazing stuff. You're going to love it when you set this up. Then when we edit that file, we're going to save and exit it. The way we do that with Nano is you do a Control X. You then hit Y for yes, I want to save it, and press enter, and boom, that's going to be saved. Then it's very likely that we are going to want this software running every time the Raspberry Pi boots up. So it automatically is listening on those ports. And so we're also going to go ahead and do this. We are going to edit the rc.local file. So sudo nano, the full path /etc/rc.local. So just before the exit 0, which is already in that file, just do a /usr/sbin/scr2net space -n. And that way, every time it reboots, serial to net, that little app will be waiting for your telnet sessions to come in on those unique ports and be happy to redirect you. Then Control X is how you get out, and you can hit Y for saving it, press enter, and you're good to go. Now, here's another thing that I found very, very helpful, is that if you don't want to have a DHCP assigned address, where it's like, what is the address? It just rebooted if the IP address has changed, and you don't know what it is, you don't have a console on that thing, it's going to be hard to connect to it. So what I chose to do, and it's easy to do, is I chose to statically configure the IP address to something on my local network, so I always know what that IP address is. So if you're wired, you're using a physical Ethernet cable for your Raspberry Pi, it's going to be Ethernet 0. If you're using the wireless adapter, it's going to be WLAN 0. That's the interface names. So what I chose to do is I said, well, I'm going to use this command right here, IP space ADDR. And what that does, it shows you the current IP addresses for those interfaces. And that will also give you a hint on where they are in your network. And then I edited this file here called /etc/dhcpd.conf. That's for the IP addressing. And I simply said for my wireless adapter, interface WLAN 0, enter, and then I said static and the IP address, and static and routers, and static domain name, putting in the information about my network. And if you're working at the CCNA level, those terms aren't going to be too mysterious for you. And also what you can do is you can also join us in Discord or get some help on our channel, and somebody is going to jump in and help you out as well. So what I have here is I have an X. What that represents is a variable. So my network is 192.168.1, and if I want my Pi to be at 51 or 52 or 53, I would just plug in that number there. And then my router is also, my default gateway is also acting as my DNS server, and I have a second DNS server specified as 8888, which is Google. Then a Control X, and then a Y, and an enter to save that file, and then a sudo reboot, and boom, you are off to the races. So regarding the connectivity, here's what we'd want to make sure. Whether we're using a single USB to console, it's going to hang off the Raspberry Pi, or the USB to the 4 serial port. I wanted to be very clear on which ones they were, so I took a few extra steps and I labeled those bad boys. So that way I can look at it and say, oh, that's port 1 or cable 1 or cable 2 or cable 3. And then I took the steps of connecting the USB cable to the Raspberry Pi and then the serial ends of that cable to the console cables that then would connect to the actual console ports on each of the routers. So with all of that in place, our next step is to go ahead and try it. And it can be done with a terminal emulator from your office. So right now, that gear is actually downstairs. If I wanted to go to the console port, I'd have to walk out, go downstairs, and actually plug something in. However, the Raspberry Pi 2, this is the 3, the Raspberry Pi 2 is down there right now, and it has the USB cable connected to it, and then it goes to the 4 serial ports, which lead to the 4 console ports. So let me walk you through, once that's in place, how we could then take advantage of it with a terminal emulator. Now I'm going to use, actually, let's use 2. I'm going to use SecureCRT, which is a commercial product. It costs a little money. Or you could also use Putty, which is free, and it also works. I'll demonstrate both. All right, so let's make a new connection. And my device, this is the Raspberry Pi itself right here. And let's just do a IP-ADDR. So for the wireless network, it's at 192.168.1.52. That's its IP address downstairs. And I'm connecting to it over the Wi-Fi network, the wireless network. So let's go ahead and create a new connection. And we're going to connect via Telnet. And we're going to connect on port 2001. And the IP address is, I'm going to paste it in because I copied it to my buffer a moment ago. Great. Not worried about file transfer. And that's going to be 2001. The first port, USB 0, which leads to the first router. And we'll click on Finish. And then we'll double click on it. Look at that. SecureCRT port 2001 device/dev TTY USB 0. And I'm going to press enter. Bam! I can't tell you how much joy that brings me to have console access. I mean, we could just do a write erase, removing the startup config and reloading that puppy and going to ROM on and everything else, and we would have console access to that device. And the same thing is true for, here's port 2. Already set up a connection for that. And here's port 3. Boom. And here's port 4. Boom. Oh my gosh, so good. Now, you don't need a commercial project like SecureCRT. Look at this. We could also use something like Putty. So here's Putty. And let's make a new connection. Fill my buffer to that IP address, Telnet. And we're going to use port 2001. Oh, 2001 is already in use. Let me go ahead and get off of that up here. Conk. You want to disconnect? I do. Going back to Putty. All right. That's great. Open. And there we are in Putty. Boom. Pressing enter. And now we have the console show version. Great, great, great. Love it, love it, love it. So anyway, that is fantastic. I am so happy about remote access like this. And oh my gosh, there's 3 different ways that we could get access like this to our console ports. The Raspberry Pi is one of those 3 ways. Now I also want to share, and so I'll make some other videos if you'd like on the other 2 ways, which are also very, very amazing and not very expensive. I also want to share some problems that you want to avoid. Number 1, if you're working with the Raspberry Pi 2, to show you, I had this dongle with the USB adapter in it, which I was using to initially provision the Raspberry Pi. And then I thought, okay, I'm all configured. I hard-coded the Wi-Fi address. I shut it down gracefully, which is another good thing to do. Sudo shutdown-h now, if you want to turn off your Raspberry Pi, that way it can shut everything down gracefully and not have files open. Anyway, I pulled this out, I put it downstairs, and I tried to connect, like, no, it's not responding, no. And I thought, what's going on? Did I not save the static IP address? Did I not configure the Wi-Fi right? What happened? It turns out I put the USB Wi-Fi adapter in here, and when I pulled it out, I basically got rid of the Wi-Fi adapter for that older Raspberry Pi, and that's why I couldn't connect. I was like trying to troubleshoot now. Should I bring it back up? Should I bring a monitor down? And then I looked at this, I thought, oh, there's this network card sitting in this removed adapter. So that's one thing, is to make sure that you leave the Wi-Fi adapter in an older Raspberry Pi. The newer ones have them built in. The other thing is power. I really wanted to get the power for the Raspberry Pi from a USB port on one of the existing devices, like a router that was down there. And it did work, sort of. However, when it's driving all of those serial ports, all 4 at the same time, and there's such a load on it, it really needs some power. that is going to be consistent and enough to drive those 4 serial ports. So I would recommend for a long-term solution that you have a Raspberry Pi that has some type of fan and heat sinks, which are very inexpensive to add on to help keep it cool, and also a really good solid source of adequate power that's not going to fluctuate based on the USB port of some device it's connected to. So those are tales from the trail to help avoid problems in working with remote access and Wi-Fi based console access to Cisco gear. All right, that is it. That's what I wanted to share with you. All the details that I went through, I will have in the description below. So if you want to get a Raspberry Pi or dig one out of your bins that you haven't used for a while and do this, I'll have all the steps exactly as I described them here and exactly as I did them. So you can have the same positive results and have the joy of remotely connecting to your physical gear and not have to be directly connected or in the same room with the laptop or other device consoling into those devices. So if you found some value from this or had a good time, I hope you did. Click on that thumbs up to let other people know the video is worth watching. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. We'd love to have you. And after every live event or every debut of a video, we usually spend a few minutes in the Discord server. So there's a link to that as well for an invite. And if you'd like to join us in the CCNA chat room, feel free to. And I look forward to seeing you, my friend, in our next event. Meanwhile, have a great day and happy studies.
What you putting